These are the richest mob bosses in the world. They were criminals who didn't just break the law, they bought it. Their bank accounts had billions of dollars, but their crimes made cities bleed. This story shows how blood money turned into private islands, gold mansions, and empires that were as big as governments. Anthony "Fat Tony" Salerno, $600 million. Anthony "Fat Tony" Salerno ruled the streets of New York City. He was the powerful boss of a crime family during the 1970s and 1980s. With his favorite cigars and rough looks, Fat Tony built an amazing fortune worth $600 million through his criminal empire. He was born in East Harlem and climbed up the ranks of organized crime through being really tough and mean. His main ways of making money included illegal gambling that spread all over Manhattan and the Bronx. These betting rings brought in millions of dollars every month as people bet money on everything from horse races to sports games. His loan sharking business made just as much money, with desperate people who borrowed money paying really high interest rates and facing dangerous trouble if they couldn't pay back. Fat Tony's huge wealth let him live like a king. His main home was a stunning mansion in Miami Beach with marble floors, crystal chandeliers, and priceless artwork. The house had a massive swimming pool surrounded by palm trees and a private dock where his 90-foot yacht was always ready for surprise trips to the Bahamas. Back in New York, Salerno owned a protected compound in upstate New York where he threw legendary parties for fellow mobsters and corrupt officials. These parties had the finest Italian food made by personal chefs, endless champagne, and entertainment from famous singers who didn't ask questions about their generous host. Fat Tony's car collection impressed even the wealthiest real businessmen. His garage had several Cadillacs, a rare Ferrari, and a bulletproof Lincoln Continental with custom leather seats. Each car had hidden spaces for carrying cash or weapons. Even though he had a rough criminal background, Salerno developed expensive tastes. He wore hand-tailored suits from Italy, solid gold watches, and diamond rings on his fingers. His cigars were specially brought from Cuba at great expense, and he drank only the finest aged whiskey. Law enforcement finally caught up with Fat Tony in 1986 when he was found guilty in the famous commission trial that targeted the leadership of New York's 5 major crime families. He spent his final years in prison, far from the luxurious lifestyle his criminal fortune had given him. Salerno died behind bars in 1992, but his reputation as one of the richest and most powerful mob bosses in American history remains legendary in the criminal underworld. Fat Tony made New York streets rain cash, but across the ocean, another boss was stuffing suitcases with dirty money and setting fire to Europe's underworld. Michel Zaza, $700 million. Michel Zaza rose from humble beginnings to become one of the most powerful figures in the Italian Camorra crime organization. Born in Naples, Italy, Zaza built his criminal empire mainly through cigarette smuggling operations in the 1970s and 1980s. His network stretched across the Mediterranean, moving millions of illegal cigarettes from North Africa into European markets. The Italian crime boss didn't stop at cigarettes. As his power grew, Zaza expanded into drug trafficking, especially heroin and cocaine. These ventures multiplied his wealth big time, eventually gathering a fortune estimated at $700 million. Zaza lived a life of extreme luxury that matched his enormous wealth. His collection of stuff included 3 massive yachts, each over 100 feet long. The largest, named La Dolce Vita, cost more than $15 million and had gold-plated fixtures throughout its cabins. On land, Zaza owned impressive real estate across Europe. His main home in Naples sprawled across 20,000 square feet with marble floors brought from rare quarries. He also had luxury villas on the Amalfi Coast, a penthouse in Milan, and a chateau in the French Riviera worth about $30 million. The crime boss spent lots of money on memberships to exclusive clubs. He belonged to the most expensive golf clubs in Italy and France, even though he rarely played the sport. These memberships mainly served as meeting places to do business with other wealthy and powerful people. Zaza's spending habits were legendary among criminal circles. He reportedly dropped $500,000 in a single weekend at Monte Carlo casinos. His wardrobe had hundreds of custom-made suits, each costing more than $5,000. The mobster never wore the same outfit twice to important meetings. Security for his empire didn't come cheap either. Zaza spent millions every year on bribes to officials and keeping a small army of bodyguards. His protection team included former Special Forces soldiers who got paid way more than what regular security work would pay. Despite his enormous wealth and power, Zaza's criminal activities eventually caught up with him. Italian authorities working with international police agencies targeted his operations throughout the 1980s. The crime boss faced multiple arrests and legal challenges before his empire ultimately fell apart. Zaza lived like royalty off black market millions, but the next name did not just chase money. She spilled blood and flooded cities with cocaine until even the cops were too scared to say her name. Griselda Blanco, $2 billion. In the dangerous world of drug trafficking, few names struck as much fear as Griselda Blanco, known as the cocaine godmother. This fierce woman ruled Miami's drug scene during the 1970s and 1980s with an iron fist. Born in Colombia, Blanco moved to the United States and built a massive drug empire that earned her a staggering $2 billion fortune. Miami became Blanco's playground as she controlled the cocaine trade with ruthless efficiency. Her organization moved over 300 kilograms of cocaine every month, flooding the streets with drugs while her bank accounts swelled with cash. Unlike other crime bosses who kept low profiles, Blanco flaunted her incredible wealth for all to see. The cocaine godmother lived in several luxury mansions throughout Miami, each one more fancy than the last. Her main estate had marble floors, crystal chandeliers, and gold-plated bathroom fixtures. The swimming pools at her properties were designed in special shapes, including one famously built to look like Colombia, her homeland.
Blanco's jewelry collection was legendary. She owned diamond necklaces worth millions, emerald rings the size of small pebbles, and a special bracelet made from pure platinum with her nickname carved in diamonds. Her most prized possession was reportedly a diamond-covered pistol that she kept with her at all times. Cars lined the driveways of her properties, Rolls-Royces, Bentleys, and custom Cadillacs with bulletproof glass and hidden compartments. Each car was painted in bright colors and had personalized license plates. Blanco rarely drove herself, preferring to be driven around Miami in these luxury cars. The drug queen's spending habits were beyond excessive. She once threw a birthday party for her son that cost over $1 million, flying in performers from around the world. Blanco bought a private island in the Bahamas just for weekend getaways and owned a fleet of speedboats for quick escapes if needed. Her closets overflowed with designer clothes that often still had price tags on them, many items worn only once before being thrown away. Blanco hired personal shoppers who would close down entire high-end stores just so she could browse in private. Despite all this wealth and power, Blanco's empire eventually fell apart. After years of violence and drug trafficking, law enforcement finally caught up with the cocaine godmother. The cocaine godmother crushed Miami under her heels, but the next man built tunnels, bought cities, and moved mountains of drugs without a blink. El Chapo Guzman, $1 billion. Joaquin El Chapo Guzman ruled the Sinaloa cartel with an iron fist, building a drug empire worth a staggering $1 billion. Standing at just 5 feet 6 inches tall, his nickname El Chapo, meaning Shorty, didn't stop him from becoming one of the most feared and wealthy crime bosses in history. El Chapo's business spread across the globe like a spider web. The Sinaloa cartel moved massive amounts of drugs, cocaine, heroin, marijuana, and meth from South America into the United States. At the height of his power, El Chapo's organization controlled drug trafficking in nearly half of Mexico. Life as a billionaire drug lord came with incredible luxury. El Chapo owned private jets for quick travel between his many hideouts. His real estate collection included beach houses, mountain retreats, and city mansions spread throughout Mexico. Each property had bulletproof windows, escape tunnels, and the latest security systems money could buy. The drug kingpin's car collection would make anyone's jaw drop. Armored SUVs, custom sports cars, and vintage classics filled his garages. One of his favorites was reportedly a diamond-covered handgun that showed off his fancy taste. El Chapo spared no expense on personal items either. His wardrobe had designer clothes, rare watches, and custom-made shoes. The crime boss traveled with a group of bodyguards and often threw fancy parties where guests enjoyed the finest foods and drinks. Money flowed like water through the cartel's operations. Millions went toward bribing government officials, police officers, and prison guards. These payoffs helped El Chapo escape from maximum security prisons twice, once in a laundry cart and later through an elaborate tunnel system that cost millions to build. Despite all his wealth, El Chapo's empire eventually fell apart. After his final capture in 2016, he was sent to the United States and sentenced to life in prison plus 30 years. The Mexican government took many of his things, though rumors say that billions remain hidden away. El Chapo broke out of prison like it was nothing, but the next boss did not need to run. He sat back in gold-trimmed mansions while the stock market fattened his pockets.
Susumo Ishi, $1 billion. In the shadowy world of organized crime, Susumo Ishi stood out as a different kind of mob boss. As the head of Japan's Inagawa Kai Yakuza group during the 1980s, Ishi changed the traditional criminal organization into something that looked more like a business empire. Unlike other crime bosses who stuck to old-school illegal activities, Ishi had bigger plans. He took advantage of Japan's booming economy in the 1980s, known as the bubble economy, and dove headfirst into real investments. The Yakuza leader put money into the stock market and bought up valuable real estate across Japan when property prices were going through the roof. Ishi's wealth allowed him to live in incredible luxury. He owned several mansions in Tokyo's most expensive neighborhoods, where a single property could cost more than most people earn in a lifetime. His main home had traditional Japanese gardens, rare artwork, and rooms designed specifically for tea ceremonies, blending ancient traditions with his enormous wealth. The Yakuza boss didn't stop at Japanese borders. He bought vacation homes in Hawaii and California, along with a collection of private islands in the Pacific where he entertained business partners and political connections. His real estate holdings alone were estimated to be worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Ishi's investment collection included major stakes in some of Japan's biggest companies. He owned shares in banks, manufacturing firms, and entertainment businesses. The mob boss even invested heavily in golf courses during a time when golf club memberships in Japan could cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. His collection of luxury items was equally impressive. He kept a fleet of custom-made limousines, rare sports cars, and even a private jet for international travel. His wardrobe had hand-tailored suits from the finest shops in Tokyo and London. What made Ishi unique among crime bosses was his ability to move between two worlds. He kept the traditional Yakuza power structure based on loyalty and fear, while at the same time building relationships with real business leaders and politicians. This dual approach helped his fortune grow to an estimated $1 billion. Ishi turned crime into business and business into gold. But the next name turned speakeasies into cash factories and ruled Chicago like it was his backyard. Al Capone, $1.3 billion, adjusted. The streets of Chicago changed during the Prohibition era, and one man stood at the center of this change. Alphonse Gabriel Capone, known simply as Al Capone or Scarface, this notorious gangster built an empire worth an estimated $1.3 billion in today's money through bootlegging, gambling, and other illegal activities. When alcohol became illegal across America, Capone saw an opportunity where others saw restrictions. He set up a massive bootlegging network that smuggled liquor from Canada and operated countless speakeasies throughout Chicago. His organization controlled about 10,000 speakeasies and brought in an estimated $100 million every year, roughly $1.4 billion in modern money. Capone's wealth allowed him to live like royalty at a time when most Americans struggled through the Great Depression. His main home, a sprawling mansion on Palm Island in Miami Beach, had 7 bedrooms, a large pool, and a private beach. The property served as both a luxury home and a fortress, with walls thick enough to stop bullets and secret passages for quick escapes if needed. Back in Chicago, Capone kept several properties, including a suite at the Lexington Hotel that worked as his headquarters. The suite had multiple rooms for meetings, entertainment, and business operations. Bulletproof glass covered the windows, and armed guards walked the hallways constantly. His collection of cars reflected his fancy taste and need for security. Capone owned a fleet of custom-built Cadillacs with armor plating, bulletproof glass, and hidden spaces for weapons. His personal car was a 1928 Cadillac V8 town sedan, painted green and black to look like police cars of the time.
The gangster's wardrobe showed his flair for luxury. He owned dozens of custom-tailored suits in various colors, silk ties brought from Italy, and diamond-studded accessories. Capone purportedly spent $500 on suits when the average American earned less than $1,000 per year. Entertainment came at no small expense for the mob boss. He hosted fancy parties featuring the era's top musicians, expensive food, and endless supplies of illegal alcohol. These gatherings served 2 purposes: showcasing his wealth while building connections with politicians and police officials he bribed regularly. Despite his criminal activities, Capone built a public image as a generous community figure. During the Depression, he opened soup kitchens that fed thousands of hungry Chicagoans daily. This charitable work, combined with his charismatic personality, earned him a strange form of public admiration, even as his gang violence terrorized the city. Capone partied through Prohibition like tomorrow would never come, but the next boss stayed hidden for decades, building a fortune so big even the police lost track of it. Matteo Messina Dinaro, 4 billion euros. The Sicilian countryside hid more than just olive groves and vineyards. For decades, it hid one of the most dangerous men in Italy. Matteo Messina Dinaro, known as Diabolic after an Italian comic book character, this mob boss ruled the Sicilian mafia with an iron fist and a mountain of cash. Born in the small town of Castelvetrano, Dinaro grew up in the shadow of organized crime. His father was a powerful mafioso, and the son quickly followed in those footsteps. By his 20s, Dinaro had already earned a reputation as a ruthless killer. The Italian police linked him to dozens of murders, including the brutal killings of rival gangsters, judges, and innocent bystanders. In 1993, Dinaro played a key role in several bombings across Italy. These attacks targeted art galleries and churches in Rome, Florence, and Milan, killing 10 people and damaging historic buildings. These bombings
agents were part of the mafia's war against the Italian government. While on the run from authorities, Dinaro built an empire worth an estimated 4 billion euros. His wealth came from both traditional mafia activities and real businesses. He controlled construction companies, wind farms, supermarkets, and resorts across Sicily. The mob boss had his fingers in everything from drug trafficking to olive oil production. Dinaro's lifestyle matched his massive fortune. He owned a collection of Porsches and Ferraris, each worth hundreds of thousands of euros. His real estate holdings included beachfront villas in Sicily, luxury apartments in Rome, and a secret compound near his hometown. One of his homes had gold bathroom fixtures, antique furniture, and priceless artwork. With 30 years, Dinaro managed to stay one step ahead of the law. He communicated through old-fashioned handwritten notes called pizzini, rather than using phones that could be tapped. The mob boss had plastic surgery to change his appearance and used fake identities to move around. The long manhunt finally ended in January 2023 when police arrested the 60-year-old Dinaro at a cancer clinic in Palermo. Despite his billions, the mob boss couldn't escape illness or justice. Italian authorities continue to search for his hidden money, believing much of his fortune remains buried in secret locations across Sicily. Dinaro vanished into thin air while billions stacked up, but the next man made his money loud, flooding Europe with drugs and throwing parties that looked like movie scenes. Darko Sharic, $27 billion. Deep in the shadows of the criminal underworld, Serbian drug lord Darko Sharic built an empire that few could even dream of. With a jaw-dropping fortune of $27 billion, Sharic ranked among the wealthiest crime bosses on the planet. His money came from moving massive amounts of cocaine from South America into Europe, creating a drug pipeline that flowed with cash. Sharic didn't just have money, he flaunted it. His collection of homes spread across multiple countries looked more like luxury resorts than houses. In Montenegro, his seaside mansion had private beaches and helicopter landing pads. His Belgrade penthouse offered panoramic views of the city from floor-to-ceiling windows. Each property came equipped with swimming pools, home theaters, and art collections worth millions. The Serbian kingpin's car collection would make any billionaire jealous. Rows of Lamborghinis, Ferraris, and custom Rolls-Royces filled his garages. One of his favorites, a bulletproof Bentley worth over $500,000, often transported him between meetings. For longer trips, Sharic preferred his private jet or 100-foot yacht docked in the Mediterranean. Fashion played a big part in Sharic's image. His closets overflowed with handmade Italian suits, each costing thousands of dollars. Diamond-covered watches adorned his wrists, with some pieces from his collection valued at over $1 million each. Parties at Sharic's homes became legendary events where the champagne never stopped flowing. The finest chefs prepared meals while famous musicians performed for guests. These gatherings served two purposes: showing off his extreme wealth and connecting with powerful friends who helped protect his business. Behind the glamorous lifestyle, Sharic ran his operation like a CEO. He employed hundreds of people across Europe and South America. His network included corrupt officials, boat captains, and street dealers who all played their part in moving drugs and money. The Serbians' reign at the top didn't last forever. Law enforcement agencies from several countries worked together to bring down his empire. In 2014, Sharic was arrested and much of his fortune was taken away. The man who had $27 billion found himself behind bars, trading his mansion for a prison cell and his designer suits for a prison uniform. Sharic lived like a superstar with cash spilling out of every corner, but the final boss did not just want money, he took over cities, crushed businesses, and buried his enemies under mountains of cash.
Francesco Schiavone, $47 billion, clan estimate. In the shadowy world of organized crime, few figures commanded as much power and wealth as Francesco Schiavone, known by his nickname Sandokan. Schiavone ruled the notorious Gasalesi clan with an iron fist from their base in the Campania region of southern Italy. The Casalesi clan built an empire worth an estimated $47 billion through a web of businesses that seemed normal on the surface. They controlled huge chunks of the construction industry throughout Italy, winning contracts for highways, apartment buildings, and shopping centers. When a new building went up in their territory, the clan got paid. Waste management became another goldmine for Schiavone's organization. The clan made billions by illegally dumping toxic waste in fields and waterways across southern Italy. Companies paid the mob to get rid of dangerous materials cheaply, while the clan pocketed the cash without spending money on proper disposal. No business in their territory escaped the clan's reach. Shop owners, restaurant managers, and local companies all paid protection money to avoid trouble. This steady stream of cash from thousands of businesses added millions to their fortune every month. Schiavone lived like a king, with homes that looked like palaces. His main compound had marble floors, gold fixtures, and priceless artwork stolen from museums. The property included swimming pools, tennis courts, and even a private zoo with exotic animals from around the world. His car collection would make any billionaire jealous. Dozens of custom Ferraris, Lamborghinis, and vintage classics worth millions sat in climate-controlled garages. Each vehicle was bulletproofed and modified with hidden compartments for weapons or cash. The clan invested heavily in real businesses too. They owned luxury hotels along the Italian coast, high-end restaurants in major cities, and exclusive nightclubs where celebrities partied. These businesses helped them clean their dirty money while expanding their influence. Schiavone's personal style matched his massive wealth. He wore custom-made suits that cost thousands, Swiss watches covered in diamonds, and shoes crafted by Italy's finest leatherworkers. His parties became legendary, with famous singers flown in for private performances and endless supplies of the world's most expensive champagne. Despite all this wealth, Schiavone's empire eventually fell apart. After years on Italy's most wanted list, he was finally captured in 1998. The man who once controlled billions now spends his days in a small prison cell, a dramatic fall for one of history's richest crime bosses.